Yashodanandana Brajadanarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Yashodanandana Brajadanarandana Yashodanandana Brajadanarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Radha Madhav Radha Madhav Radhe Jaya Radha Madhav Radha Madhav Radhe Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Gaura Primanandi Jaya Vishupad Paramahamsa Hari Vrajagacharya Stotra Satta Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Shilavai Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Skandi Biti Founder Acharya's Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Gaura Primarande All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada. Jai. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Taksuranmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jita Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanvitam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansakalpa Tirubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Vyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nas. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed or practically to nil. And loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, whose praise with transcendental songs becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam bhagavatam nama
Idam bhagavatam nama
Puranam Brahma Samhitam
Puranam Brahma
Uttama
Samhitam
Shloka Charitam
Uttama Sloka Charitam
Chakara Bhagavan Rishi
Chakaram Bhagavan Rishi
Nishreyasaya Lokasya
Nisreyasaya Lokasya
Dhanyam Swasyayanam Mahat.
Danyam Swastainam
This
Maha.
Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, the Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda
Prabhu
Sri
Nityananda
Advaita
Sri
Gadadhara
Advaita
Sri
Gadadhara
Vasadi Gaura Bhakta
Sri
Vrinda
Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare
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 Rama Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama Hare Rama
Rama Rama Hare Hare
Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Sarabhyay Namaha
Om Surabhyaya Namaha.
Om Sarabhyay
Om
Namaha
Surabhyaya Namaha.
Om Sarabhyay
Om
Namaha
Surabhyaya Namaha.
Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yatkripat maham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam yatkripat maham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our morning Bhagavatam class. We are continuing Canto number 1, Chapter 6, entitled Conversation Between Narada and Vyasadeva. And today we are reading text number 11. Yes. You can follow? No. Okay, this you have to memorize. Spitan
Spitam
Janapadam
Janapadam
Tatra
Tatra
Pura
Pura
Grama
Grama
Vrajakaran
Rajakaran
Keta
Beta
Keta
Keta
Karvata
Karvata
Vatish
Vati
Cha
Cha
Vanani
Vanani
Upavanani
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 Cha
Cha
Spitan Janapadam Zatatra
Sutam Jananapadam Tatra
Pura Grama Vrajakaran
Pura Grama Vrajakaran
Keta Karvata Vatischa
Kita Karvata Vaticha
Vananyupa Vananicha
Vanani Pavanani Cha
Spitan Janapadam Tatra
Spitam Jananapadam Tatra
Spitan Janapadam Tatra
Spitam Janapadam Tatra
Pura Grama Vrajakaran
Pura Grama Vrajakaran
Heta Karvata Vatischa
Kita Karvata Vaticha
Vananyupa Vananicha
Vananu Pavanani Cha
Spitan Janapadam Tatra
Spitam Janam Padam Tatra
Pura Grama Vrajakaran
Pura Grama Karan
Keta Karvatavatischa
Keta Karvatavatischa
Vananyupavananicha
Vananyupavananicha Spitanjanana Padam Tatra
Spitan Janapadam Satatra
Puragrama Vrajakaran
Puragrama Vrajakaran
Keta Karvatavatischa
Keta Karvatavatisya
Vananupavananica
Vananyupavananicha. You can read? Huh? Oh, that's Telugu. Okay. Spitan, very flourishing.
very flourishing
Janapadan,
Janapadan
metropolises.
metropolitan
Tatra,
Tatra
there.
there
Pura,
Pura
towns. Grama,
Grama
villages.
villages
Gana Samudra Prabhupada? Okay. Grama,
Grama
villages.
villages
Braja,
Braja
big farms.
big farm
Oh, like Brajabhumi. Brajabhumi is a big farm. Okay. Akaran,
Akaran
mineral fields,
mineral field
mines.
mines
Keta,
Keta
Keta. Agricultural lands.
agriculture land
Karvata,
Karvata
valleys. Vatihi,
Vatihi
flower gardens.
flower garden
Sha,
Cha
and
and
Vanani,
Banani
forests.
forest
So Vana is forest, Vanani is for plural, forests. Upavan, Upavanani,
Upavanani
nursery gardens.
nursery garden
Cha,
Cha
and
and
wow, nursery gardens. That's what we want to do here. Nursery gardens. Forest we have already. Flower gardens, we're working on it. Braja, big farms we don't have yet. Keta. Okay, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. After my departure, I passed through many flourishing metropolises, towns, villages, animal farms, mines, agricultural lands, valleys, flower gardens, nursery gardens, and natural forests. Kind of repeat after me. After my departure,
after my departure
I passed through
I passed through
many flourishing metropolises, towns,
towns
villages,
villages
animal farms,
animal farms
mines, agricultural lands,
agriculture land
valleys,
valleys
flower gardens,
flower garden
nursery gardens,
nursery garden
and natural forests.
natural forest
Purport. Man's activities in agriculture, mining, farming, industry, gardening, etc., were all on the same scale as they are now, even previous to the present creation, and the same activities will remain as they are even in the next generation. After many hundreds of millions of years, one creation is started by the law of nature, and the history of the universe repeats itself practically in the same way. The mundane wranglers waste time with archaeological excavations without searching into the vital necessities of life. After getting an impetus in spiritual life, Sri Narada Muni, even though a mere child, did not waste time for a single moment with economic development, although he passed towns and villages, mines, and industries. He continually went on to progressive spiritual emancipation. Srimad Bhagavatam is the repetition of history, which happened some hundreds of millions of years ago. As it was said herein, only the most important factors of history are picked up to be recorded in this transcendental literature. Mm. Actually, the text 12 has no purport, so we'll read that as well. Text 12. Chitra dhatu vichitradrin
Chitra dhatu vichitradrin
ibha bhagna bhujadruman
Iba bhagna bhuja druman
jalashayan shiva jalan
Jalasayan Siva Jalan
nalini sura sevitaha
Nalini Sura Sevita
chitra swanai patra rathair
Chitra Swane Patra Rate
vibramad brahmara sriyaha.
Vibramad Lamara Sriyaha.
Translation: I passed through hills and mountains full of reservoirs of various minerals like gold, silver, and copper, and through tracts of land with reservoirs of water filled with beautiful lotus flowers, fit for the denizens of heaven, decorated with bewildered bees and singing birds. So, again, the translation for today's verse: after my departure, this is Narada Muni speaking to Vyasadeva. After my departure, I passed through many flourishing metropolises, towns, villages, animal farms, mines, agricultural lands, valleys, flower gardens, nursery gardens, and natural forests. So Narada Muni, as a young boy, after the sages left, he had received this transcendental, confidential knowledge, as mentioned previously, which he continued to cultivate. And he was staying alone with his mother, and by the arrangement of providence, his mother uh, passed away due to having been bitten by a snake. And this young boy found himself alone, but actually not not really alone, because he had received this transcendental knowledge. Uh, One of the important instructions that we receive when we are fortunate to come in contact with such transcendental knowledge is that actually we're never alone, because the Lord is situated in the heart of all living entities. And as Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram Jagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheswaram Suridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatvamam Shantim Rishyati. So Suridam Sarvabhutanam, the Lord as Paramatma remains the actual friend, the closest friend, and well-wisher of all living entities. So this understanding Narada Muni had, and having this understanding and conviction, he started to travel. So here we are seeing the description of how things were. This is going back, you know, this is previous birth, previous birth, previous time of Lord Brahma. And therefore, Prabhupada is making a very interesting point, important point also, that just like we see today, there's agricultural fields, of course, not in their natural state. We have forests, we have so many aspects of nature are being described, towns and villages, metropolises, etc. So uh, whether it is today or whether it is 5,000 years ago during the time of Lord Krishna, or whether it is millions of years ago during the time of Narada Muni in his previous birth, basically uh, the same activities are there. What is being pointed out, of course, is that uh, Narada Muni did not become allured or attracted. He remained fixed in his primary goal and objective, which is meant to be the primary goal and the objective of all living entities, and that is uh, jivasya tattva jigyasa, that this form of life, human form of life, is primarily meant for uh, the spiritual realization, emancipation, uh, especially in modern day society where there are so many, unfortunately, allurements and distractions. One has to be uh, very convinced, and one has to become very fixed so that one does not get what we call sidetracked or distracted and forget the primary goal of life. And of course, the Vedic culture, as we uh, come to read in different places, especially in the Bhagavatam, is nicely explaining how the more we live simplified lifestyle in the good association of devotees, then our advancement in spiritual life becomes easier. Uh, Therefore, the importance for devotees to live in close association with one another. Therefore, the importance of actually establishing such type of communities. I was just reading recently how village, I forget which context this was, but village traditionally, it's like, there are many families in the village, but the whole village is one big family also. We see this when we uh, go to a place like our village in Indonesia, Gita Nagari. Devotees, some of the devotees, a good number of the devotees have been living there for the last 25 years. So it's like, when your neighbor is the same neighbor for 25 years, when the same residents, uh, at least quite a few of them, are the same, then naturally there's uh, possibility of developing good relationship, because ultimately this is what we are meant to do, isn't it? We are meant to especially reawaken our original dormant relationship with Krishna, uh, and these recommended activities, recommended lifestyle in the Vedic culture, which is um, agrarian based, facilitates uh, not only this particular lifestyle, but uh, all of the different principles that make up varnashrama lifestyle. Sometimes, sometimes people will say, "Well, all we need is bhakti, isn't it? Because our goal, our aim is to develop love for Krishna. So simply by hearing and chanting, this will. This is what Shastra is telling also. Srinvatam Sakata Krishna Punya Sravana Kirtana Rijantastoya Badrani Vidunuti Sirit Satam. And same thing also. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavad tattva vijnana mukta sangasya jayate. So there the emphasis is on practicing bhakti devotional service. But this verse is also explaining that the proper way of practicing, of executing bhakti or devotional service is when one is situated in the mode of goodness. Uh, by becoming situated in the mode of goodness, then because the mind is peaceful, isn't it? The mode of goodness means the mind is peaceful. and the whole Vedic lifestyle, agrarian lifestyle in particular, is more conducive to develop this mode of goodness. So, although, yes, if one simply concentrates on hearing and chanting, then uh, he may develop in due course of time. Um, he may awaken his love of Krishna, but Shastra is telling, Acharyas are telling also that uh, a particular uh, way of living, particular way of working, particular type of studies mm, are more conducive to actually uh, become situated in the mode of goodness and thereby nicely practicing our, our devotional service. Um, so, in other words, we should not be so quick to minimize the importance of the recommended lifestyle that is mentioned in the Shastra. We should not be so quick to do away with the social system, which is Varnashrama. Varnashrama is actually a social arrangement, social system, which is meant to favor and help us to advance in Krishna consciousness. Or just like Prabhupada would explain also, we're coming out with a pamphlet. Our Shona is on the scene. He's active early this morning. So, Haribol, Shanti, Shanti, Om Shanti. Yeah. So, Prabhupada mentions, because that is sometimes a kind of argument that is mentioned, or a way of thinking that, well, we are practicing, the process given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, um, uh, chant, dance, and be happy in Krishna consciousness. And this is the system followed by Vaishnavas. So Prabhupada would explain that actually it is not at all easy to actually become Vaishnava. And therefore he actually makes a statement that in order to become Vaishnava, one should actually adopt and follow the recommended process. It's very similar to, before developing what is called prema bhakti, what kind of bhakti are we meant to follow? Sadhana bhakti, isn't it? First, there is sadhana bhakti. Then, by nicely practicing sadhana, which means rules and regulations, we rise to the level of bhava bhakti. And then by cultivating that bhava bhakti, which is the early stage of spontaneous devotional service, then the topmost level of prema bhakti will actually develop. So, yes.
Where does Shuddha Bhakti come in?
Huh?
Where does Shuddha Bhakti come in?
Where?
Shuddha Bhakti.
Suddha bhakti. Suddha bhakti comes in the higher levels after sadhana bhakti. Suddha bhakti is when one is no longer under the influence of the modes of material nature. So that begins from the level of bhava bhakti. Bhava bhakti, but it fully becomes manifest at the level of prema bhakti. Because even in bhava bhakti, our Bharat Maharaj was situated in bhava bhakti, but he became attached to a deer, isn't it? That whole story is narrated in the Bhagavatam. So that level, of course, is a very elevated, very advanced level, bhava bhakti. And it is in that stage of bhava bhakti that Shuddha bhakti can develop, uh, and that Shuddha bhakti becomes firmly established naturally at the level of prema bhakti. Yeah. So, inasmuch as it is recommended and necessary for the vast majority of practitioners to follow the rules and regulations of sadhana bhakti. So it is also recommended for the vast majority of practitioners to follow varnashrama. Yeah. And in many ways, because we have not done this, uh, what does it mean to follow varnashrama? Follow varnashrama means actually understand what is meant to be the way we uh, the way we live, as I was briefly mentioning a little earlier. What is the more ideal living condition, the more ideal uh, profession? Uh, Shastra, for example, this we come to know if we study what is called Chatur Vidya. Uh, Chatur Vidya means the four standard Vedic sciences. The last one being what is called Varta. Varta means the science of economics. Artha means wealth, or usually economic development or money. So, so the recommended way by which one can or should meet one's material necessities of life is, as we are seeing here actually in this verse, through agriculture, through cow protection. Um, and so I'm saying that because we have not understood varnashrama in that context, because uh, the whole world has become deviated, has given up the natural way of farming, isn't it? Has given up the natural way of maintaining cows. we have we have turned the whole thing into industry, business, and therefore uh, we as we as devotees, if we don't understand this clearly, then we will not give importance to the need of reestablishing this type of society, isn't it? We'll just carry on or go along with the uh, norm of the day. But we should know that the norm of the day, what is accepted by majority people, is totally adharmic. It's not in keeping with what the Shastra is prescribing. Uh, if we keep Vrindavan as our model, as we should, then how many of our devotees are living that kind of lifestyle, where they are in a village, where they are growing their own food, where they are in one section of the 10th canto, very interesting actually, when Krishna and Balaram, as they do every day, go to the forest, then one of the pastimes, there's so many pastimes, one of the pastimes is when a fire breaks out in the forest. And, the cowherd boys realize, oh, our cows are caught up in this fire. And my God, it's nicely described how they become full of anxiety because they know if they lose their cows, if the cows die due to the forest fire, then their whole life is finished because they're totally dependent. Uh, that is the beauty in the Vedic culture. One learns to be totally dependent upon the land, upon the cows, uh, uh, both of which are, as nicely explained actually in the Mahabharata, both of which, cows and land, are the natural gifts that are given to mankind by which we can live uh, properly without naturally exploiting these natural gifts of nature. All of the resources of nature are given by Krishna, isn't it? Not meant for our exploitation for the purpose of sense gratification, which is the order of the day, which is the standard in modern day society, but actually to utilize what we need uh, for maintaining body and soul together for the primary purpose of advancing in spiritual life. So we are not, actually, we are very less understanding this. One reason, of course, is that it's not being discussed. And therefore, we think that, well, this is the way it is in modern day society, and we just, make the best use of a bad bargain. But we should know that actually there is a, uh, a more natural and more standard way of doing things, more natural and standard way of living. And Srila Prabhupada stressed this point on a number of occasions, and therefore it's important for our devotees. Otherwise, when we're not conscious of this as devotees or as a movement, then we for both general society and for our own projects, you know, we have a number of projects, um, uh, rural projects, farm communities. But in many of these projects, we also are following the modern way of doing things. We're using chemicals, for example, to do farming. I mean, it's happening right here in Mayapur itself, isn't it? It's happening in other places as well. How we should try to understand, where are we as individuals, where are we as a society in terms of actually being exemplary in uh, living this recommended lifestyle that is there in the Shastra. And although we have, we have ministry for uh, cow protection and agriculture, some good activities, of course, are being done, but we are very, very far from what is meant to be, or what we are meant as a society to actually show and demonstrate to general society. So some of these sections, like we're reading here, which make reference to how things were. Uh, mm, in other words, it is a very recent phenomena. We should know it's a recent phenomena that we have gone away from the natural way of living in terms of cows and land, in terms of village culture, village lifestyle, etc. And that was a big debate. That was a big question, mm, major concern before the independence of India, because Gandhi was very much promoting this more simple natural lifestyle. He was fearing. He expressed his various reservations about just becoming um, modernized or industrialized, etc. Of course, tremendous pressure was there, and ultimately, that's the path that India actually took as well. But Prabhupada, in many of his purports, reminds us that actually India, especially, I mean the whole world for that matter, is not meant for this type of situation where we become totally enamored by and distracted by so-called modern development, modern uh, advancement, to the point of losing uh, and forgetting the primary goal of life, primary purpose of life, etc., like that. Yeah. So I will read the two verses that we have read today, which is 11 and 12. Narada Muni speaking, after my departure, I passed through many flourishing metropolises, towns, villages, animal farms, mines, agricultural lands, valleys, flower gardens, nursery gardens, and natural forests. See, so many things here are, uh, you know, when you have agricultural lands, that means that there's a lot of production, flower gardens and nurseries and natural forests. These are natural opulences that are there. And the other text we read, 12, tomorrow we will do 13. So translation to 12 is, I passed through hills and mountains, full of reservoirs of various minerals like gold, silver, and copper, and through tracts of land with reservoirs of water filled with beautiful lotus flowers, fit for the denizens of heaven, decorated with bewildered bees and singing birds. We don't see that too much nowadays. In Cambodia, actually, they have still, although that's also disappearing, they have many ponds with lotus flowers, different colors, blue and pink, very, very attractive. And they sell the seed, actually, lotus seed, on the side of the road. Um, and most of Cambodia has remained, although in the last maybe 1 or 2 decades a big push to industrialize and modernize, but it has remained largely rural, village oriented. Yes, so we can close for now. Let's see. Yeah. Jai Granth